Convicted predator Larry Nassar. He was reportedly assaulted in a prison in Arizona and might be moved to another facility. Meanwhile, John Engler was on Capitol Hill this week talking about the changes Michigan State University has put in place to prevent this kind of thing from happening again. But Engler was harshly criticized by several members of Congress for his conduct, including allegedly offering one of Nassar's victims a settlement during a meeting, something that Engler says did not happen. Let's bring in our roundtable to talk about it. MiWeek contributor Nolan Finley of the Detroit News is here, along with his radio partner on 910 AM Superstation WFDF, Kelly Cobb. Welcome, guys, to the roundtable. Also with us is Zoe Clark. She's the program director at Michigan Radio. Zoe, welcome.
Hello, sir.
Yeah,
hello.
Great to see all of you. Let's start with your reactions to Engler's performance in Washington. One of the key exchanges I thought was really interesting was between him and Gary Peters, our own Democratic senator.
Well, I mean, those congressional hearings, we all know they're about grandstanding by the senators. The thing I can't figure out here, and I talked to Engler about it earlier in the year, is how in the world he managed to come in there as the fixer and then end up with all of the responsibility for everything that happened during the Nassar years on his back. Nobody even talks about Lou Anna Simon anymore. I don't know why he didn't come in there and just start throwing her under the bus every day. Instead of, he got very defensive coming in as if the problem belonged to him. It's a mistake. I think it was the same mistake Dave Bing made when he came in to mayor.
Detroit.
I mean, they come in and they take all the, they become very defensive. So the responsibility transfers.
Yeah, that's interesting. At the same time, he's made some key errors in terms of the things that he said. He's put his foot in his mouth a bunch of times, and Congress wanted to get after him.
Yeah, look, I may be a bit of a contrarian. It was not a, look, anytime you get hauled in front of Congress, that's not a good thing. No one's bringing you in to go, you've done such an amazing job, so we're just having you here to talk. I certainly think he did better than Lou Anna Simon did. She was in a different position. Agreed that he did take some of the ownership maybe a little too far, but I think one of the things that I really noticed is this is a one-day, maybe two-day story, and communications professionals who are helping him or are looking at this, I think, are breathing a sigh of relief, because the fact is we're not going to be talking about his performance next week, right? And that's what they needed to do. He needed to be hauled in front of Congress. He needed to take the hits. Let Gary Peters, who, let's remember, was a state senator when John Engler was governor, and how the tables have turned now. He's sitting up higher or looking down at Engler. And I think in terms of keeping this a shorter day story, that was done. And if you're looking at it from that perspective, okay, like, there you go.
Kelly, do you think Engler is in position to fix this in a way that people will have confidence again in MSU?
I don't know, because I think that there's a long list of people who need to be held to account there. But I don't think Engler's at the top of that list. Everybody's calling for his head. Say you fired him. Who's replacing him? The Board of Trustees decides that. The same Board of Trustees that oversaw the entire scandal to begin with. The same Board of Trustees where only two of them said we're not running for re-election. And one of them, Joel Ferguson, has made similar missteps to John Engler. So I think there's there's a lot of people that need to be held to account before him.
If you look at the actual plan that has been put in place with the help of a lot of sexual assault, both victims and experts, a broad community, a broad committee, put together a very good plan for making sure, or trying to mitigate this happening again, and trying to protect people and giving avenues for reporting sexual abuse and supporting sexual. It's not a bad plan. It's a good plan, but nobody talks about it.
But is it a culture change?
Yeah, here's the issue that I think is really at play, and it's a crazy parallel to make, but do you remember the bankruptcy, right? That Kevin Orr got to come in and he got to play the bad guy, right? He got to slash things, and Duggan was sort of able to come out and go, but we can do this. We're Detroiters. MSU doesn't have that. What they simply have is Engler, who knows he's supposed to do the dirty work. He knows that he was come in to slash and burn things. And what MSU doesn't have right now is a cheerleader. They don't have that kind of comforter in chief. They instead have someone who's doing the dirty work. And what I would think, if someone was thinking, is let's find someone else who's an alum who can bring the best out of people, and let's have some attention, look at the positives. And that's not John Engler doing that.
You would think that some members of the board might be able to play that role, but they're
Maybe. I think they're
Their hands are
discredited.
dirty.
Yeah, they're discredited to begin with. Here's the thing about leadership that I completely agree with you on, but I would take the opposite tag. It's not necessarily just about positivity.
Yeah.
Leadership is owning the responsibilities for the organization, even if you weren't the problem to begin with. No one there, even Luanna Simon, really, who still gets paid more than all of us combined, has a job there. We don't even know what she's.
Steve.
Not Steve, no. But she still has a job there. No one yet. And I think that's what people are doing here. They're trying to tack that blame and heal that wound, and no one has been able to step up in a leadership role at MSU and say, we take responsibility.
The president of Penn State ended up in jail.
Yeah, right.
She's in a brand new office with her husband sitting right beside her in some boondoggle job.
Right.
She's drawing this year, I think, $750,000.
That's a lot of
and
money.
then it goes down a wee bit. I think it's $500,000 a year. Where's the accountability there for the person who put this university or allowed
So
this
we've got about a
university
minute left in this
to be
segment.
placed?
I wonder if you think voters will hold the board accountable this fall. Are we going to see people
Well,
lose
the
seats?
two people are not
Yeah, I was
running
going to
for
say
re-election.
the two seats that were up, they
That's
won't
right.
be.
We don't have the
So
either
there's
of them.
no, you know, it's up to the people who are running to fill those seats to say
Is
that
there a
change
way?
is necessary.
Is there a conversation about the governance that might unfold that says, hey, this is not the way to make sure that these universities are
Should have
in
been
good
happening
shape?
by now.
It should have been, and I'll stick my neck out and say I would have hoped that even though Governor Snyder did not feel that he had that responsibility and that he had that constitutional authority, I think it would have been good for him to step out a little bit stronger on it, and maybe try to grab some of that.
Governor
authority.
Snyder stepping out strongly about a political issue.
hot topic. Political.
You got 7-8 ballot proposals on the ballot
Maybe,
being circulated.
right?
Maybe. Why isn't one of them a governance
To change
for
the
these
governance?
universities?
Yeah, I
Well,
think
Daniel
that's,
House, who you of course know very well, has written a lot about that. And there's actually a PhD student has written a pretty incredible paper about some different options. But the issue, of course, is you get to the idea of a governor appointing.
I was going to say,
and
the
truth that-
alternatives are what I think people shy from, and it
Well,
just
it's
sort of
working
makes it
at
more
the
political.
other 12
Works in some other
universities.
places,
I
but yeah.
You don't have this sort of lack of
The
oversight.
overt political interference.